it's me, the Charm City Property Dude. I am back for the next video, and in this video, I'm gonna go over the five things that I can't stand about Baltimore, Maryland, about Maryland in general. I just can't stand it. And if you don't have to move here, by all means, don't move here. But if you gotta move here, I wanna be perfectly clear, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you that these are the five things that I cannot stand. Again, I'm Charm City Property Dude, John Ruckman. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for this and all the other great videos here. And stay tuned to the very end. I'm gonna tell you something that has absolutely drove me completely nuts when it comes to Maryland and Baltimore, so stay tuned. I'm sitting out in front of the Einstein Bagel here in Towson, Maryland, one of the places that I talk about a lot, and I'm going over the five things that I absolutely cannot stand about Maryland. And the first thing I cannot stand about Maryland are the taxes. I tell you what, they tax you on. I just had this conversation with one of my clients. I was showing houses today, and we were talking about trying to get ahead. There are taxes for literally everything. He was asking, how are the investors doing with homes and stuff like that? Because we come out, I'm an investor. We come out when the interest rate was 3.5%. We could fix up the house, we could sell it, we could make a little bit of money. And then all of a sudden they raised the interest rate to 7.5%. They raised all the material costs, and everybody's wondering why the prices of the houses are so high. Well, it's because the cost of everything has completely gone up. And on top of that, they tax you. Not only do they have homeowners tax, which is usually 1%, 1% plus 20% above. So if a $600,000 house is $6,000, it would probably be closer to like $6,450. Baltimore City house here, it might be $2,000 or $23,000, and the price of the house is $200,000. So they tax you on literally everything. They tax you for your cars. They tax you for what you eat. I'm not surprised that out of every dollar you make, they don't tax you at least 80%. So they have taxes for everything. And then if you want to go fishing, if you want to do this, they have a license. You need a $25 license to go do that. So there's fees. Is that like it is over where you live? So if you're moving into Maryland, you should definitely be aware that the taxes are affordable, but they're kind of out of control. I mean, every time the government needs to do something, they just create a new law and a new tax. So, and that's the number one thing that I can't stand about Maryland are the taxes. So if you're gonna move here, you gotta be aware that there are taxes for everything. So while we're talking about taxes, let's talk about special assessments. So if you buy a house, you got 1% taxes, and they decide to put a new water line or new sewer through your neighborhood, they will honor a special assessment that will be levied against your tax bill. So like water assessment could be for 20 years for the water lines out in front of your place. Like when I said there's taxes for everything, and what I don't understand is this ridiculous stuff that they spend money on. They spend stuff on some of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. I'm trying to think of something like, for instance, they're constantly spending money on construction on 95. Constantly doing that. They've been doing construction on 95 since I was a baby. So that brings us into the number two thing that I positively cannot stand in the state of Maryland, in Baltimore, around DC, and that is traffic. Oh my God, traffic. No matter what time of day you go up down 95, there's always traffic, and the majority cause of traffic is construction. But you're coming out of Cecil County into Harford County, and you're on 95, all of a sudden the traffic just stops for no reason. It's just, we're gonna stop, we're gonna take a look, and it's because of the construction. They've been doing more construction between Cecil County and Baltimore County since I'm gonna tell you, I'm 54 years old. I know I don't look it. Full head of hair, full mouthful of teeth, 54 years old. And they have been doing construction, I can remember back when I was 7, because I used to ride up and down 95 with my dad as we went to the piers. So that's the thing I don't like about Maryland is traffic. It's because there's more people here. 11% of the population lives between here and New York. I guess the jobs out here are better, I guess. And traffic is always bad. So if you're going down 95 South at about 7:30 in the morning, start earlier. 7:30 to about 9:30, traffic is really bad going south. It's like 26 miles to Baltimore. It'll take you literally an hour and a half to get there. And traffic around DC, forget about it. It's always terrible. 495 is terrible. And then when you're coming back home at about 2:30 in the afternoon, to about 6:30 in the afternoon. Traffic is really bad going back north. It might start earlier. For whatever reason, they slow down. And if, for instance, a police officer pulls somebody over, forget it. It's a traffic jam. Everybody wants to slow down. They want to take a look at what the cop's writing the ticket. They want to interject. And they're afraid that the cops are going to jump in their car and come chase them. So that is the number 2 thing I can't stand about Maryland, and that is traffic. Earlier, I mentioned jobs. You know, everybody's coming out here. And that is the number 3 thing I can't stand about Baltimore, Maryland. If you don't have to move here, but your boss says, hey, listen, you don't want to move here because you're a Ravens fan. Okay, you want to move here because your boss says you don't have any choice. But if you got to move to Baltimore and you don't want to live in Baltimore, there's always Harford County and Baltimore County. So that brings us to the number 3 thing of what I really cannot stand. And that is the lack of high-paying caliber jobs. We are known for DOD, we're known for healthcare, and that is about it. You can come over here and you can get like a 360 salary with the government. You can you get into healthcare. There's some really good jobs here, but the rest of them is just support staff. There's I can't tell you. Amazon came in, Under Armour came in, and they're all like $16 to $25 an hour job. There's no like $250,000 salary jobs. We don't have a lot of high tech anything here. We're not like computer savvy. We're not Silicon Valley. We really do lack the good high paying jobs. And now we've got somebody beeping, somebody running a red light, and somebody giving a finger, talking about traffic again, and they're just like out of control. But that's the number 3 thing I can't stand about Maryland are the lack of high paying jobs. So if you're getting transferred in here, maybe you got one, and then the support staff, like your significant other, your wife, and your kids, they can all get like secondary jobs within like healthcare. And we are definitely known for healthcare. So that's the number 3 thing I can't stand about Maryland, lack of jobs. All right, so the number 4 thing that I can't stand, it's more heartbreaking than anything. It's not a hate, it's coming from trying to understand, and that is the homelessness. That is the panhandling, that is the poverty level, that is in some of the neighborhoods that's just egregious. And the politicians all come in, and I don't care what side of that you fall on, I always think it's a double-headed snake. They're all out to make the rich richer and the poor poor, and it's the homelessness. I mean, while I was sitting here doing a video, I always have people to come up to me. I usually buy more than one bagel. I'm sitting in front of Einstein Bagel, and there's just such a lack and I feel terrible. And it's because of bad policies and bad politics and bad policing that the homelessness is something else. And it's all over the place. Like I was sitting here and there's a bus stop across the way from me, and I watched a gentleman who's obviously homeless go right behind the bus stop and pee behind the bus stop. I'm sitting here in front of Einstein Bagel and it smells like pee because there's just no empathy for the homeless people here, and they're on the different corners panhandling, and here it lies something else that's really bad. You're not sure. This is what happens when you sit on a city street and you're trying to do these videos. You got the fire department, which is on a brand new truck. That was nice. Did you see him? I don't think you saw him. But the homelessness is something else, and there's just no policies in place to help these folks out. Now, I realize that a lot of the stuff is probably psychological, but there was like this one story that a woman was released from the hospital, and she had some psychological issues. They let her go middle of winter in a hospital gown. So imagine how freezing cold that was. So there's no empathy here. There's really not a lot of programs that I'm aware of that are in place to help. And of course, there are have-nots. So they break into cars and they get into the houses, and we call those squatters. And as an investor, I constantly have to go monitor the houses, because if they get in there, now tenants here in Baltimore, in Maryland, have more rights than the landlords. If a tenant gets in there, gets the power turned on, gets a lease off the internet from the library and fills it out and signs it, all of a sudden it's 60 days to get them out, because this is definitely a tenant state. So that's like the number 4 thing that really, really drives me crazy, is the homeless situation here in the state of Maryland. And I just wish there was more we could do about it. Okay, so that brings us to number 5, or number 1 thing that I absolutely cannot stand about Maryland. As you can see, it's nice and sunny out behind me. And the number 1 thing I can't stand is the weather. Oh my God, the weather. Okay, so right now it's about 85 degrees. I'm surprised I'm not sweating my nuts off. Maryland is a woman's name. She's bipolar, and she is usually off her meds. We went through July. I planted 15 Leland cypress on my property, and I picked the hottest week of the summer to do that. They say it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Well, it was hot and humid. By the time you walk out to your mailbox and come back, it looks like you took a shower. And I decided to plant 15 Leland cypress. It took me all week to do it. And when I say it was hot, oh my God. And winters are brutal. They're brutally cold. I know the one year it was like -9 degrees. It was so cold that winter that when it warmed up to freezing, I was wearing a t-shirt because I was like, oh my God, it's a warm spread. So that is the number 1 thing I cannot stand about Maryland, is the flip-floppy of the Maryland. The common joke is, wait around a half an hour, the weather will change. That's Maryland. 1 minute, it's hot as hell. The next minute, in the afternoon, you got thunderstorms that are coming through, ripping trees and power lines down like we had like 2 weeks ago. We had a storm that just literally, the wind went and it blew all this stuff down. So that is the number 1 thing. So if you waited this long to the very end here, all right, this drives me crazy. I go to Montgomery County, PG County, and they decided to implement what's called a plastic bag tax. This is the thing I was telling you I was going to get to. So look at it this way. You have your milk that's in a plastic jug. You have your lunch meat that's in a plastic bag. You have your potato chips that are in a plastic bag. You have your chips or your cookies that are in a plastic case. And then you go up to put it in a bag, and they want to charge you a nickel per bag. And it's Baltimore County too. So I was sitting here in 7-Eleven, and I got 2 hot dogs, a soda, and a bag of chips. The soda was in a plastic bottle. The hot dogs were in a box. The chips were in a bag, plastic bag. And they go, would you like a bag to carry all that? And I got an armload of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, sure. They go, I need another. It was 10 cents. I need a dime. A dime for what? For the plastic bag tax. That drives me crazy. And something else that drives me crazy here in the state of Maryland, they decided to do what's called a beverage tax in Baltimore City. So you want to drink milk? Okay. You want to drink a soda? They're going to tax you special because you're drinking a soda. And the primary thing that most residents in Baltimore drink is soda. So they tax the soda and they tax the plastic bags. And that is the thing that drives me crazy about Maryland. I don't know if they do that here. Here, comment below and let me know if they have any kind of stupid tax in the state of Maryland or anywhere you live that you're like, what the hell was that all about? So I'm John. I'm the Charm City Property Dude. Thanks for tuning in this video, and we'll get to the next one.